How's it going, everyone? Sethphir here, and welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail video. The simulated universe can be quite challenging, but don't worry, I got you covered. We have a guide coming up here with some tips, tricks, and secrets that will help you progress through it with ease. And if you have even more trouble than that, make sure to comment down below and I will personally answer any questions that you have. Be sure to include the current characters that you have so that I can advise you on the team comp, as well as the world that you are stuck on. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into the simulated universe. The simulated universe is probably one of my favorite gameplay modes, and I have cleared all the way through World 6 currently in the game. I am completely free to play. I have spent $0 on the game, so if I can do it, you can also do it, especially with all this knowledge that I'm about to share to you. So first up, let's go ahead and talk about the simulated universe and kind of give a rundown so that we can understand it better. After we do that, I'm going to give you some of my best tips for this game mode. So let's go ahead and dive in. First up, we're going to look at the rewards that we have. There is a store that you can get. You will receive 5-star light cones inside of this little facility, and it can also be used little trinkets to upgrade those light cones. So you can get a very powerful 5-star light cone very quickly. So this can be really good. Any excess that you have after you clear out these light cones can be used on summons. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the index, because this is going to be a nice place where you can collect blessings and curios that you run into your encounters, as well as claim prizes like Stellar Jade for getting collections across the board. And the last menu that we have to cover is going to be the ability tree. It's very basic and straightforward. You're going to start at the top, and as you progress and do runs, you're going to earn currency. You're going to unlock special talents down the line, and don't worry, you don't have to choose for anything. You just unlock all of these as they are, and you keep progressing further and further down. The only thing you need to know is what the talents do so that you can have an understanding of how to build within the game. Next up, we're going to talk about world tiers. So world tiers are going to be from 1 to 6, and this is going to be 1 being the starter mission. This is going to be your basic tutorial, as well as 2 is going to be the follow-up tutorial. It's going to teach you how to play the game. Where the action actually starts is going to be at World 3, and this is where it gets a little bit spicy. You're going to have a difficulty level that will unlock as you progress your equilibrium and increase your Trailblaze level. You're going to get better rewards, including legendary items, as well as a ton of resources to pull on the gacha, so this is definitely going to be something you want to do. Before diving into the world, it's important to scout out the enemy's weakness. When you start up a world difficulty, as we can see here in World 6, I can go ahead and click on the monster itself, and I can see what kind of weaknesses this boss is going to have. It also lists several resistances that the boss will have, so you'll be able to get a good understanding of what's going to be effective versus this encounter, and it's also going to show you several encounters that you may come across depending on the path that you choose inside of the simulated universe, so you can be very well prepared for anything that it throws your way. Once you have selected a team roster, you can go ahead and dive right in, and you will be selecting a path following that. The paths are very important, and there are quite a few of them, so let's go ahead and talk about them now. Preservation Path will help you with mitigating damage, increasing the value of shields. It will also deal damage based on the amount of shields that you have. This is going to be physical damage, so that's important to keep in mind. The next path that we have is Remembrance, which deals with freezing the enemy, keeping them frozen, and dealing dissidence to add extra damage while that monster is frozen and when it breaks free. It's also going to reduce the target's elemental effects resistances, so you're going to have a much easier time keeping them frozen and controlled. Next up, we have Nihility, which is going to be really nice for dealing damage with dots. The specialty is going to add dots of all varieties to enemies, and it can get very, very nasty with the right build and the right characters. Following that, we have Abundance, which is the healing talent tree. You're going to increase all healing and call upon the Abundance Spirit to heal your entire team and increase their maximum HP. This specializes in keeping yourself at full health so that you can deal a lot of bonus damage through its special abilities. Then we have one of my favorites, the Hunt. This is a very powerful tree, which focuses on increasing speed but dealing wind damage in an AoE rain of arrows, and it also focuses on characters taking extra turns. So if you ever want to take a million turns before the monster ever wants to act, this is the path to go for you. Then we have Destruction. This is a bit of a tricky one. It's going to reduce damage taken by the characters and deal fire damage based on the HP differential between yourself and what your max HP is. So it's going to do a lot of tricky encounters like lowering your health, but then dealing more damage or generating a shield when you lower your health. So it's a little bit of a spicy one, and I would recommend it for more advanced simulated universe players. And last but not least, we have Elation, which is going to focus solely on follow-up attacks. Follow-up attacks are going to trigger under some sort of special circumstance from characters like Clara, March 7, as well as Himiko. So these are going to be the go-to characters for this path resonance. It can deal quite a lot of damage, but you really need those characters that can trigger the follow-up attacks to make this one shine. Now that we have a good understanding of the simulated universe, I wanted to share some tips and tricks with you. And my first tip is going to be, there is a cheesy way to level up your ability tree. So if you want to generate these points right here, you're going to get points based on the levels that you complete. You can see that there's going to be like a clearance point at the top here, and every time you complete a level, a floor, you're going to gain a certain amount of points that you can use for that ability tree. So the best go-to strategy is going to be to clear the first floor of enemies, and then from there onward choose occurrences, which generally tend to have events where you collect some sort of trinket or get some blessing or get some currency within the game, or you can just choose to leave it alone and dip out from it. But the important part here is that it counts as clearing a floor. So you can walk into the game, you can clear the first floor of enemies, and then you can choose like 2 or 3 occurrences and make it to the first elite boss, and then just leave and cash out. And you will be able to get bonus points for those floors that you have cleared. So it's like you cleared 3 to 4 floors, and you're going to be able to cash in and use that currency inside of the shop. So if you ever want an extra advantage, you can just start leveling this up and get all these paths and all these bonuses down here, and it's going to be super, super easy for you to progress through the game. Next up, my next tip is going to be playing for sustain. A lot of times when you build a team comp in this game, you're going to need to sustain yourself because it is a turn-based game. You're not going to be able to dodge any attacks with your skill. You're just going to have to mitigate, absorb them, or recover from them. So I'd recommend at least 2 supporting characters on any roster. And especially if you're free to play, you have easy access to March 7 and the Fire MC, which I strongly recommend. They are a dangerous and very, very good combo used together. My next tip is going to be on paths, as not all of them are created equal. Many of them have specialties that require a specific roster and a really, really tight-knit combination to pull off. But there are 2 that are incredibly easy to do. The first one is going to be Preservation with the March 7th and Fire MC strategy, and this is very easy to do because you're just going to be unkillable. You're going to have immortal shields for pretty much forever, and no boss is going to be able to touch you. So you'll be able to slowly chip at them and whittle them down as time goes on. The next path that I would recommend is the Hunt. The Hunt is very, very strong, especially when you get the later on resonances that add extra damage to the attack and the ability to reset the cooldown for the special path power itself. So this usually has a lot of abilities inside of it that allow you to advance your action in your turn order and get extra actions when you defeat enemies. So if you combo this with any powerful Hunt character like Sushang or Dan or even Sealy, if you manage to have it from the special banner, you will see your character taking like 12 turns before the boss can even react, and a lot of times you could just completely wipe the floor with them in terms of the amount of damage that you have. The next tip that I'm going to give you is that when you select a path, you should look to obtain blessings of that same path. That may seem obvious, but even if they're not good blessings, like they're gray blessings, accruing them is going to unlock the different path powers, as well as give you special bonuses in many of the choices, which are based on the amount of the path selection blessings that you currently have. So stacking the one category that you have is going to be highly advised. My next tip is going to be on curios. Curios are very powerful, so if you ever get the option to get one of them, I would opt into it, especially later on once you unlock the ability to start with a curio. There are some that are incredibly strong, like this scroll that just flat out lowers all monsters' health by 30% at the start of the battle, as well as the coveted Doctor's Robe, which is actually insane. It's going to give you max path resonance energy and increase your path resonance damage by 40%. So if you power up this with pretty much any path, it's going to be probably one of the better curios you have seen in the game. There's also a couple of other really like super nice ones to find, like the Fortune Glue, which will give you a 3-star blessing guaranteed. And then if you're feeling super lucky, you can go with the Galactic Big Lotto, and this can make or break runs, but hey, if it's over, you just cash out and collect your stuff and go on to the next one. But sometimes you can get some crazy runs with like 12 curios at the start, and you just go completely into the sky and infinity with damage. My next tip is going to be focus on domain encounters in the game. Whenever you have a choice to go a direction, try to avoid occurrences because they tend to be a bit tricky, and a lot of times they don't offer you anything particularly good. But if you choose the basic encounters, you're going to be able to slay a lot of enemies, and in turn, you're going to be able to pick a lot of blessings. And picking many blessings is going to allow you to advance your pass skill, as well as just be stronger. In general, this is going to be the best way to power you up and prepare you for the boss encounter at the end of the level. In addition to that, do not be afraid to use your rerolls to select other blessings. If you don't see a blessing from your category, cashing in 30 currency to reroll is a very strong and viable strategy. It will allow you to get your path advancement bonuses a lot faster. And my final tip is going to be just play it safe when it comes to occurrences and special regional encounters that you are forced to interact with. Don't get greedy and go for the most bonuses. Just take whatever small advantage you can get and move on to the next level, because the worst and terrible most thing that you could do is set yourself to low health before you enter an elite battle or a boss encounter. Alright, that's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed this video and the tips help you, make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell, as we will have a ton of more Honkai Star Rail content coming up in the future, as well as tons of guides, so be sure to stick around for that. And as I said before, make sure to comment down below. If you are struggling, let me know what team and what characters you're using, what is available to you, and what world you are stuck on, and I will try to reply and give you some help if you need. In addition to that, I also stream on Twitch quite frequently, so check me out at twitch.tv/Sethphir, and I will most likely be playing Honkai Star Rail, and you can see all of the cool things that I am up to. Thanks for your time and watching the video, and we will see you in the next one.